Jesus Christ. Well, we've had some long ones the last couple weekends, so I promise to be somewhat brief today, okay? I don't know what I've become, all right? I don't know what I've turned into with these long homilies. Okay, so today we kind of formally wrap up our Fully Alive capital campaign. It's been a quick process, really, over these last few months. And we're just so overjoyed. And you're probably wondering, many of you, how last weekend went. And it's been great. It's been incredible. So this is where we're at. Father David's got the animations that are exciting here. We're fully alive, fully full. Thank you. Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. Today is going to be the last weekend that we formally pray the prayer at Mass. We encourage you to continue to pray that, maybe in your personal prayers at home. But it's just incredible. I was sitting with somebody last weekend who said, well, I thought we were a poor parish, but I guess not. And I said, well, maybe we're just a generous parish. Maybe we're just a generous parish. And that's absolutely what I've experienced through this process. Tom Sani, who's the director that we kind of had with us working on the campaign from a company called Greater Mission, he said we're the most generous parish he's ever seen in 30 years of development work. What a great gift. What a great gift to hear that from him. Just meeting a number of individual stewards. It's his first campaign that he's ever done in the Diocese of Wichita. It was kind of a dream campaign for him. It's not a big diocesan campaign, but just a little parish with a pastoral plan and a campaign. And he was just able to, I think, get a lot of stories from you, from your hearts, from your relationship with God that he's going to use in years to come with his work, because he's seen individual people and families making great gifts of self. Great gifts of self. We are a generous parish. Just Friday at our school mass, our kids brought in a bunch of food for our St. Vincent de Paul food pantry. It was a moment of great pride, too, for Father David and I, as they filled the whole altar here with canned food and other non-perishables. St. Vincent de Paul has been pressed throughout the pandemic with a lot of food requests. We had a company come in and donate, I remember about 6 months ago, a ton of food, and it's all gone. And so we had to kind of replenish our stock, and the kids got after it. And so we were impressed that even as their parents are making gifts to these campaigns, that they're also competing with one another to see who could bring the most food for the poor and to fund our St. Vincent de Paul Society for a long time to come. And so we were just so grateful and moved. And it's a witness to today's gospel that we, once again, what John Paul II says to us in Gaudium et Spes, one of the Vatican II documents, maybe the best line from Vatican II, man only finds himself and that he gives himself as a sincere gift to another. We only find out who we are. We only truly realize our full human potential as we give of ourselves. And we know this. We all know this. We've all experienced this in some way when you've gone to serve in charity work and you realize you're getting back more than you've given, receiving much more. But our disciples in today's gospel, they still hadn't quite figured it out at this point. It's always a bad start when you start out and say, Jesus, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you. Do it for me. But how often do we begin our prayers that way? How often do we implore the Lord to give us what we want? And he responds, I will give you what you need. And I will give you overflowing into the measure of what you give me. The measure that you give is the measure that will be poured back into your lap, overflowing. And I mean, we've experienced this time and time again, and I pray that that you will experience this through the gift of yourself to this campaign, that you'll experience the way that God cannot be outdone in generosity. I've experienced it time and time again as I lay down the plans that I have for my life, the idea that I have even about what my priesthood will be, and have come to a place like this and learned Spanish and learned all these things that I never saw coming, and the Lord has given me much more than I've given to him. And Jesus says to these disciples, you will have to drink the cup that I will drink. You will suffer with me. You will be baptized by fire and by martyrdom. But to sit at my right and at my left is not mine to give. There's a couple ideas about what this means, what Jesus says here. Number one, Bishop Barron talked this week about how it could be an allusion to the good thief and the bad thief that were crucified beside Jesus. That it's not necessarily Jesus's to choose who will be crucified beside him, but it's our choice whether we respond like the bad thief who was yelling at Jesus and ridiculing him and saying, if you're really the king, come down and save us, or if we respond like the good thief and say, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. I may be a sinful man, but please take me into your home. Whether we respond kind of with this sense of selfishness or a sense of selflessness, just a small difference. Another writer in the Consecration to St. Joseph by Father Donald Calloway that many in our parish did, he claims that this is an allusion to Joseph and Mary. That it's not for Jesus to choose who's sitting there because God the Father has already placed his foster father Joseph and his mother Mary at his right and at his left. For me, I think this selfless service that they characterize, that all the saints characterize, is just summed up perfectly in our celebration of Father Capon these last several months. And it's been providential that this campaign has taken place over this time period with his intercession and his homecoming. One has to ask, why now? Why has now been the time where it's appointed for him to be found, to be set as an example of what it means to selflessly serve, of what it means to not come to be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for many. This is a picture now of what the tomb looks like at the Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception in our diocese. It's a great idea for any of you, and hopefully we will do it as a parish soon, to make a pilgrimage to this site. As Bishop Kemi said, go visit his tomb. Go pray and ask his intercession, that you too may have this heart of selfless service. What Father Capon did, in the eyes of many, who remembered him, was something ordinary. There's a testament from his biography that says he was the most normal person I've ever met. The most normal person I've ever met. But what he did was he sanctified the ordinary. Every little action in his life was done for love of God. Not out of sort of an angst that I have to do these duties in my life, not out of compulsion that I have to do it because this is what my life requires of me. Every one of us can do that. Every one of you who is a mother, a father, a grandfather, a grandmother can do that. These small actions of great love, sanctifying the ordinary days of your life. This is truly, truly a gift. Truly a gift to experience God's grace moving in us. And if you feel like you're not good at that yet, join the club. The second reading from St. Paul's letter to the Hebrews talks about how God fills our weakness, how he wants to fill those places in our hearts that feel like we can't live up to this. Well, I can't be a saint. Well, if Father Capon can be a saint, someone from our own diocese, someone who is pretty normal and ordinary, then I think we too can become saints. We too can become saints. Why? I think because Jesus has promised it to us. This last part of the gospel, I think, is the most beautiful in today's reading. You know that those in power, those who are recognized as rulers, lord it over the people. and their great ones make their authority felt, but it shall not be so among you. It shall not be so among you. That's less of a question and more of a demand, a promise from Jesus. You, my disciples, will be servants. You will be the last of all. You will humbly place yourselves before God and say, thank you for all the many gifts that I have been given. The Father has this heart of unconditional hope. This is something I've been praying with the last couple of weeks, and this is kind of my last thought for the day. A motherly love is a sort of charged with unconditional love. She'll always nourish you. She'll always welcome you back. She'll always take care of you when you've fallen and when you're sick. Fatherly love, the love of the Father, is unconditional hope. Unconditional hope. The Father never gives up on his children. The Father always knows that they'll come back. This is the sort of posture that God the Father has towards us. This is the love he carries and bears for us. I think this is the love that you fathers, you dads, you grandfathers can give to your children. Always seeing the good in them, always being able to see what they can't see in themselves. And I think that's exactly what God the Father has done through this parish and this campaign. Able to see through something that a lot of other people thought would be impossible. A lot of other people thought would be crazy. Every time I go around and see friends from outside the parish, how's St. Anne doing? I beam with pride as I tell them about our campaign and the way that God has been working through you. God is working through us in a profound way because we don't ask the question. I pray that we won't ask the question, God, do whatever you want, whatever I want for me. Instead, we ask the question to God, the simple question, Lord, what do you want me to do for love of you? Together now let us stand and profess our faith. I believe in one God.